Hi everyone, welcome to the series we're doing at the Strong Kitchen about things holding back your fat loss and fitness success. And we talked about honesty in the very first one. In this one, we're going to talk about sleep. Moreover, what happens when you get a poor night's sleep or a string of poor night's sleeps. And this is one that people, I think especially in our culture, we try to be tough about, and that if you focus on sleep and rest and recovery, you're being lazy. Maybe somebody else is going to get more done than you. So we almost wear it as a badge of pride that if we're working more and sleeping and resting less, that somehow we're tougher or we're better or we're more of a go-getter. The thing is, you rely on that sleep to give you the recovery and the energy and the strength and everything that you need to accomplish all the things that you want to do mentally and physically. So you can't turn your back on the thing that's allowing you to accomplish everything else that you want to do, which is why it's so important. In the short term, you may feel like you can get away with it. In the long term, it is going to come back and bite you, and it's really going to impact your results. So what happens when we get a poor night's sleep? The average person is sleeping 7 to 9 hours, which is what we recommend, just kind of in general. If you sleep 4 hours, or if you are in bed for 8 hours, but you're up every 60 to 90 minutes because your kid's sick or something like that, and you have a really poor night's sleep, either not enough or it's interrupted, what is going on under the hood? Well, just one poor night's sleep is going to impact your blood sugar for the next day. You are going to have really poor blood sugar management and a really heightened insulin response to food. So it's almost making you respond in like a pre-diabetic, insulin-resistant way the next day from just having one really crappy night's sleep. I see this all the time with clients. Luke, why was I so hungry on Tuesday? I was not just overly hungry, but I was really craving sweets. Hey, did you sleep well Monday night into Tuesday? I slept terribly. Okay, let's sleep really well tonight, see what happens the next day. Boom, problem is usually solved, or a few successive good night's sleep, the problem is solved because of the impact on the blood sugar management the next day. That's huge. You're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get lean, something like that, control your calories. It's going to be really hard if your sleep is poor and it's making you hungrier and seeking out less healthy foods that are going to impact your blood sugar. So right off the bat, that's no good. What else is happening? Well, if you're trying to learn something, you're studying, you're graduating school, or you're learning something for a new promotion, or let's say you're trying to learn a new physical activity like a backhand in tennis or a hip hinge or a squat, you are essentially creating and storing those memories, both physical and mental, while you're sleeping. One is during slow wave sleep. So that's not when you're in REM sleep. That's a deep, deep sleep. That's when you're consolidating memories, things that you learned during the day. So if you studied before bed and you go to sleep during that slow wave sleep, you're consolidating that stuff that you read that you're studying into actual memories that you just know. And if that's interrupted, it's going to interrupt your ability to store and create new memories and new information. During REM sleep, you are consolidating a lot of the physical learning, so motor patterns, which is I'm trying to learn a deadlift, I'm trying to learn a push-up, I'm trying to learn that backhand in tennis. Those physical patterns that you're trying to learn are stored and created in the REM sleep. That's the rapid eye movement when you're dreaming, and if that's interrupted, that's going to impact your ability to learn those physical things. On top of that learning, when you get a poor night's sleep, your cortisol is usually much higher the next day. That cortisol actually impacts your learning in the moment, not just when you're sleeping, but in the moment. So if cortisol is really high, you're really stressed the next day, and then you try to learn that new movement pattern in the gym, or you're trying to study, that cortisol is actually impacting your ability to process and store that in the moment. This is why really, really high stress people, even if they sleep well, have a much harder time learning physical movement. Like you take them in the gym, let's try to learn a rack pull or a squat or something. They're going to have a much harder time getting that nailed down and set as a motor pattern than somebody who's relaxed and confident. And so if your cortisol is artificially high because of poor sleep, not only is it interrupting your ability to learn while you're sleeping, but in that moment. And that is huge. So you've got physical and a mental learning impairment. You've got cortisol's high the next day. You've got poor blood sugar making you hungry and making you crave sweet foods. And all on top of that, you're trying to get a promotion, you're trying to lean out, you're trying to recover from exercise, and that recovery from exercise is happening while you're sleeping as well. You know, your hormones, growth hormone and testosterone and estrogen in women is raised to help, restore and repair. Your immune system is restoring and repairing your muscle cells, all of those things. And then you interrupt that with poor sleep. Plus, you're trying to lose body fat, and being in a calorie deficit is a stress in it of itself. So all of those things, it's like you're pulling from so many different systems, and you don't have the resources to put out into all those systems. So all it does is break you down. What usually happens is you're chronically stressed, so you're exhausted. It's called tired and wired. So you're so jacked up from cortisol and adrenaline that you're like, being burned at a candle being burned at both ends, but you're exhausted at the same time. You're trying to lean out, but you're hungry. You're trying to avoid sugar, but you're craving it. You're trying to get stronger in the gym, but you're not recovering. And every time you come in, you're beaten down, you're a little bit weaker. So you say, I'm not losing the weight I need. I should exercise more. I should eat less. And it just compounds that problem. Hold on, partner. Why don't we address the sleep? Trust me here, and then the other things will fall in place. It's much easier to eat a calorie deficit if you're sleeping well and you're well rested and your blood sugar is balanced. It's easier to come back into the gym if you're recovered and you're stronger than last time. It's easier to learn when you're not as stressed and burnt out. So you need to focus on that baseline of good sleep, and then everything else can be built up from there. But some people don't want to accept it. This is part of that. Am I being honest with myself about what I'm willing to do to get to the goals I want? If somebody says exercising 7 times a week and sleeping 5 hours is actually hurting your progress, and you say, I am going to pretend I didn't hear that and not be honest with the fact that I know that and continue to push harder because I'm too afraid to give up something that I've already committed to, that's going to impact your success. Is that you? That's why a coach is so important. But sometimes you may not listen to your coach anyway. So this is part of, before each step, we're talking about the things holding you back. Have that honest conversation with yourself. Does this sound like me, or does part of this sound like me? And then what can I do to correct it? And then next video, we're going to talk about what you need to do to get a really good night's sleep all the time or most of the time. But first, be honest with yourself. Second, recognize this major hurdle of sleep is huge. It needs to be addressed. And then third, let's talk about how to address that. See you soon.